Aloha, I'm Jessica Lonnie Rich, host of Inspire You and Me. It's a television show where we talk to people who are making a difference. On this week's show, we have the president of the Asian Real Estate Association of America, Hawaii chapter, Ronda Ching, the director of the Victim Witness Kokua Services for the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney, Dennis Dunn, and his courthouse dog, Clover. And we're heading on over to the Hawaii Pet Expo. And be sure to stay tuned for our Animal Lovers Clip of the Week. We'll have all that and more, and we'll be back right after this.
5914-777. Shoot-a-wah. Who's got the best deals in Vegas around? Who's got the best job? Shoot-a-doo. Call 5914-777 today. Vacations Hawaii. Vacations Hawaii. Vacations Hawaii. Good luck, we go play. 5914-777 today. Good luck, we go play.
I am very pleased to have as our special guest on the show the president of the Asian Real Estate Association of America, the Hawaii chapter, Ronda Ching. Aloha and welcome, Ronda.
Oh, thank you for having me on your show, Jessica.
Thank you. It's really great to see you again.
Thank you.
What is the Asian Real Estate Association of America Hawaii chapter?
It's a nonprofit organization to help real estate industry professionals support, promote, educate, and lobby for homeownership opportunities in the Asian American Pacific Islander communities.
It's really difficult for people who live here in Hawaii to save a lot of money for a down payment. How does your association help?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Absolutely. In fact, one of our advisors, Earl Lee, who is also the co-president of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Hawaii Realty, is doing a seminar in conjunction with our chapter at the Hawaii Home Ownership Center. And so we talk about trends in real estate from, let's say, evolving for over 50 years, and we show how housing prices continue to climb and how you can gain equity, how you can take advantage of down payment assistance programs. Did you know that there are down payment assistance programs up to $40,000?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's why you have to go to class.
Yeah.
But we do all kinds of programs like that. You can buy a house with no money down in certain neighborhoods, 3 to 3.5% down payments. There's so many programs that people are not aware of.
How many professionals are in your association?
We have about 17,000 members nationwide.
Wow.
We're open not only to realtors, but to lenders, architects, attorneys, financial planners,
That's
insurance
wonderful.
agents. So everybody who touches the real estate industry. So it's really exciting to see everybody network and collaborate and just inspire each other with different ways of how we can serve each other, especially with the changes today with technology, artificial intelligence. How can we reach out to those people who want and dream about owning a home? It's a myth that all Asians are carrying suitcases of gold. Especially here, the cost of living is so high.
Yeah.
It's very typical to have one person have 2.5 jobs.
Absolutely. And we see that pretty much everywhere. A lot of people have 2 jobs.
Yeah, so that's why we want to reach out and let our agents know about foreign national programs, let people know how they can start saving or have alternative credit. So those are the kinds of things that we like to support.
You mentioned credit. How can someone clear up their credit so that they can buy a home?
There's so many things that you can do, but the first thing you should do is find a professional, either a credit counselor, a loan officer, a realtor who can point you in the right direction. And of course, you want to pay off your debt as soon as you can.
You just used the word inspiring a little while ago. You are an inspiring person to me. How did you get into real estate?
Well, in my last year of college at UC Berkeley, I took a real estate class in the business school, and I really enjoyed it. And the professor said, you'd be great at commercial real estate, but at the time, the market was very depressed. And so I took some real estate, residential real estate classes. I really enjoyed it. And right out of school, I trucked myself down to Silicon Valley. I was probably the youngest person there in the office of maybe 55 people, some who were starting real estate as a second career. I had the worst car. I had to knock on doors. Everybody was so much more professional. I was a little kid.
When you were young and getting into real estate, I'm sure some of the agents said, well, let's just let her find her way. And look at you now.
You know, over the years, what I found is I just love what I do. At first, I wasn't sure. I started selling homes, started calling on for sale by owners. So it was really hard homes to sell. Their homes typically didn't sell quickly. I remember cutting down branches, painting barn red homes a more pleasant color, painting cabinets, trying to figure out how this home could sell. But now, that's the most fun part of my job. I love transforming homes.
And do you have an inspiring story of helping someone find a home?
You know, there's so many stories I can share, and it's just a joy to work with someone over, let's say, even 2 years to find the home that they want and not getting it because they don't have all cash. They can't compete with an all cash buyer. And I'm so happy for those homeowners. I've made friends and best friends with some of my clients. One particular story wasn't about buying, but it was about selling. And it's a very sad story. She doesn't mind me sharing. She had bought a home sight unseen, and out of the goodness of her heart, she and her husband had rented it or allowed a homeless person to stay in a studio. And over time, he just took over the whole property, which was a duplex. And then he started bringing in abandoned cars and renting it out to homeless people. The property was in disrepair, 2.5 acres.
Oh, no.
And so it took myself and the buyer's agent about 1.5 years to close on that property.
Oh, my goodness.
But she was so happy after that ordeal.
In conclusion, Rhonda, what else about Ronda Ching Day would you like us to know that you haven't already shared with us?
Every client is so different. They're so unique, whether it's a $65,000 leasehold co-op to a $140 million hotel purchaser. I just love each of those transactions. My broker always says, Rhonda, how do you get these transactions? You deal with the most stress. But I think that's what I like. I like the adventure. I like each transaction to be unique, and that's what I love about it.
Well, Rhonda, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule for sharing with us your experiences. You're truly an inspiring person in our community, and I wish you continued success.
Oh, thank you so much.
Unique, majestic, inspiring. Hawaii's hidden gem on the windward side. Just a short scenic drive will take you to one of the most extraordinary locations in the world. We specialize in conferences, meetings, retreats, business functions, social events, and off-premise catering. Delectable cuisine, stunning panoramic views, and excellence in first-class service. Let Ko'olau Ballrooms and Conference Center make your event a memorable experience.
We are very pleased to have as our special guest on the show. He is the director of the Victim Witness Services, Kokua, for the Prosecuting Attorney's Office, Dennis Dunn. Welcome, Dennis.
Oh, thank you so much, Jessica, and it's a real pleasure to be here.
How long have you been the director of Victim Witness Kokua?
I've been the director since 1985. I've been with the program since 1979. This is my 40th year.
For those people who are not familiar with Victim Witness Kokua Services, tell us what you do.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to understand that, when you're a victim of crime, you don't do so voluntarily. Someone else volunteers you to be involved in the criminal justice system. So the average victim gets into the system not only involuntarily, but not really having a very good understanding of what's going on. So I see our role much as you would a tour guide. If you were going to a foreign country, where they spoke a different language and they had different customs. So even though many people see a courtroom and see the crimes prosecuted and investigated on TV, the actual process is much different. And so we're there to basically be their tour guide, to explain to them what's going to happen, how the system works, tell them what's going on with their particular case, what the status is, what's going to be expected of them, explain how long it's going to take, try to provide assistance with them in understanding the terminology that's used. Sometimes the attorneys and even some of our advocates, we use terminology that's like jargon.
Yeah,
and
you
the
know
average
the
person,
terminology, but
yeah, exactly. So it's almost is like a foreign language for a lot of people. So we try to help them with that, but we're also trying to address the needs of the person, not just their role as a victim. So we try to assist them in getting crime victim compensation. We try to assist them in finding community resources that can help them, say with counseling, for example, or housing, or other needs that they might have. So we try to really help the entire victim, not just because they're a victim and they're a witness in our prosecuting case.
The fact that you've been there for a long time must be so rewarding for you. Not everybody can say that about their job.
It has been very rewarding. I couldn't really have asked for a better career, and to be honest with you, it's like a dream job, even though it is difficult.
Yes.
We see a lot of bad things.
Yes.
You have to sort of suck it up sometimes and really see people treated in the way that you don't believe it's right,
Yeah.
and then try to make them feel better afterwards, and that's hard. But at the same time, there's so much that people get out of the help that we give them. Most people are so grateful that you couldn't ask for a better job.
Dennis, you've been at your job, you said 40 years. Do you have one case that sort of sticks out in your mind a little bit?
Early on in my career, I helped out in a couple cases where we had someone who had been the victim of domestic violence. And so in this particular case, we had a defendant who was extremely dangerous and not only physically but sexually abused the victim. And so part of what we did was we worked with the deputy prosecutor to help to get the court to hold the individual in custody, which in those days didn't often happen. And so we were able to get him held in custody for the entire time that the case was pending. And then the individual, after being convicted, we were able to get the victim to be able to testify at the sentencing. She was the first victim that was ever in Hawaii was ever able to get up and make a statement at sentencing, because we were able afterwards to get a law so that all victims, but we were able to convince the judge that this victim could get up and tell her story. And I felt so good about that, because so much of the criminal justice process, the defendant, the criminal, is in charge. They, basically gets to get all these rights, and here the victim in her role, she got to get up there and she got to have her say, and it was for those few moments that she was in control, and she just felt so good about herself and about the fact that she was able to do this. I think a lot of times victims feel that the process is going to be so hard that they can't do it. But the nice thing is that after they've done it, we tell them, if you can get through this and survive this process, you can do anything in life.
Dennis, you have a unique program, your courthouse dog program at the prosecuting attorney's office. Tell us about that.
Well, Clover is at her best when she is working directly with a victim who is under the stress of having to participate in the court process. So I'll tell you about a couple of cases that we had recently in the family court. The nice thing about the family court cases involving juvenile defendants, there is no public courtroom, so the victim doesn't have to face the public while they're testifying. But the family court judges, because there's no jury, will typically allow Clover to be in the courtroom right next to the victim while they're testifying.
Really?
And
Oh,
so
that's
this is what
amazing.
we've been able to do in a couple different cases lately. But one case in particular we had, actually the case wasn't a success. We were not able to get a successful prosecution. But the girl who tried to testify and wasn't able to do it, she left the stand with Clover. She went into a room with her mother. The two of them sat down. And as they were sitting there, kind of sobbing, Clover, on her own, went over, put her head on their knees between the two of them, and stayed there until they were finished talking.
So the Courthouse Dog program provides moral support, gives them strength and comfort, and obviously there's special training that goes into being a courthouse
There does,
dog.
and actually all of our courthouse dogs in Hawaii are trained by Assistance Dogs of Hawaii, which is located, well, they're main headquarters is up in Makawa on Maui. They have a facility where they train the dogs, and then ultimately when the handler, like myself, is selected, then that's where we go for training too. The dogs are trained for about 2 years, their standard training. All the dogs get basic assistance dog training with learning up to 90 commands. At the end of that time, they try to decide where the dog is going to be assigned. When the dog is assigned, you go for a 1 week very intense training. They test us every day. We have a written test and a performance test. And then on the second week, they come actually to your job site and train the dog with you on your job site for what you're going to do.
Dennis, you work at the prosecuting attorney's office, and you also have been for a while an ice skating instructor. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've been doing that for almost 20 years. Wow. I went out to the Ice Palace because my daughter was going to a birthday party and she wanted to learn to skate. And so we got her some skating lessons, and I sat there and I was kind of cold and bored. And so I thought, well, I could do this too. And so I started skating, and I got into the competitions and shows, and they asked me if I wanted to volunteer to teach, and so that's what I've been doing. I teach the youngest group. The joke between myself and my wife is I teach that group because we're on the same maturity level. The 2 to 7 year olds and I match up pretty well.
You guys get along great,
Exactly.
2 to 7. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Dennis, in closing, what inspires you?
What inspires me is the courage of the victims that we work with. They've been through terrible experiences. We ask them to do so much. Our criminal justice system wouldn't work if they didn't get in there and show the courage to get up there and testify and stick with us through sometimes several years of waiting. That's what inspires me.
Well, Dennis, thank you so much
you're
for
welcome.
the wonderful, what I call a life mission, a life purpose that you have been living for over 40 years. And not only that, your love and your passion for having the courthouse dog help others. I wish you continued
Well, thank
success.
you very much. Thank you.
When you feel like Vegas, there's just one place to stay. Grab a drink at the Holo Holo bar, there's just one place to play. We got a fresh, hot look, a new sports book. We got those local meals, just like Auntie cooks. Aloha spoken here. Look now at thecow.com.
With Dr. Shelby Gu. She is a veterinarian. Aloha, welcome, Dr. Gu.
Thank you. Thanks for seeing me.
What is the Hawaii Veterinary Medical Association?
The Hawaii Veterinary Medical Association is an organization of state veterinarians, so includes all of us that are licensed and work here. So we are the main educational and professional organization for veterinarians.
And about educating the public, what is the most important thing that you feel as a vet that the public should know before they even purchase an animal or have an animal come to their home?
Well, I think the most important thing is to just be aware and do research first before you're thinking about bringing an animal home. So that would be any kind of animal, whether it be a bird or a mouse, rabbit, dogs or cats. They all make really great pets and they really enhance our lives. And so we really encourage people to have animals, but to have an animal, you need to be a responsible owner. So there's so many different aspects to animal ownership, and each animal and species has their own needs and care that they need. So I think your veterinarian is a really good source for getting information about what kind of animal that would fit your home, your family, your household.
Now, the Hawaii Pet Expo, you are one of the sponsors, your agency is. What is the importance of the Hawaii Pet Expo?
So the HVMA has sponsored this event for many, many years. The purpose of this is awareness of pet care, pet health. The HVMA has this booth which we're standing in, which has very informational exhibits, instructional things, and just to let the public be aware of things that they may not know, and the things that they can learn about pet care. We're trying to educate everybody about their animals.
Dr. Gu, thank you so much for the wonderful work you're doing with animals and educating the public. It's amazing, and I'm sure that's very fulfilling as well.
It is. Thank you very much.
I'm here with Tim McGuire, and he is the owner of Deb McGuire Pet Photography. Tim, tell us about Deb.
So Deb McGuire was my wife, my best friend, and a wonderful animal photographer. She had been photographing animals from the time that she was a small kid, and eventually in about 2005, she decided that she would make it her business. Before that, she had been an anchor, a reporter. She had been on-camera personality. She'd been in a couple TV shows, but around 2005 here in Hawaii, she decided, you know what, I think I'm going to make this a business. And then by 2008, it was Deb McGuire Pet Photographer was up and running, and she was taking pets and their people mostly. She's done animal photography all over the world, and I told her when she started, I said, Deb, if you do this, you got to be the best. In some ways, that was probably a mistake because at that point, Deb was a force of nature. So once I told her that, she took it to heart and she just went full speed ahead, and she won accolades and had her work published here locally and in some national venues as well.
Now, you said she was. Deb passed away.
Yes, Deb passed away at the end of January of this year. She battled pancreatic cancer for 4 years and 1 month. She's from a family that has what they call familial pancreatic cancer. She's at least the 12th person across 4 generations going back to Hungary that had pancreatic cancer. All of them have passed away that have gotten it. She's the second one in this generation to pass away. Her cousin passed away in the 90s from pancreatic cancer.
And I'm very sorry for your loss. And this whole beautiful, wonderful exhibit is really a tribute to Deb.
It is, and it's funny because she didn't directly say, I want you to do the Pet Expo, but she said, you know, I guess you'll do one more Pet Expo. And I looked at her and I said, well, yes, I will do one more Pet Expo. And I may do more, but this one is hers. This one belongs to her, and this is her weekend. I actually intended to scatter her ashes this weekend, but her family couldn't come in for it. So this is her weekend, and then the family will have some other time.
And I noticed the dogs in the back. That is a very famous picture. I see it pretty much about everywhere.
Yeah, so this was, we were trying to come up with something unique for the calendar, and actually we were hoping to try and get it for a calendar cover. And Deb and I had been in one of the shops downtown in Waikiki, and I had seen a picture of Duke Kahanamoku and his family with the surfboards behind him. And I said, you know, we can try to do that with dogs. Now, the only way you can do that is because of the way cameras work, you have to have all the dogs be perfectly online. So you have to get all the surfboards perfectly online. You have to get all the dogs perfectly online. And fortunately, because Deb has such a great personality, and because she has so many friends here, and including a lot of people we've met here at the Pet Expo, the Golden Retriever Club, she contacted them right away. And so this is the product. These were dogs that knew each other and were incredibly well disciplined. So we could get the surfboards all online, we could get the dogs all online, and then we had 2 cameras online, and we were able to get the money shot, as they say. And it's one of my favorite. It was one of Deb's favorite shots.
Tim, thank you so much for sharing the legacy of Deb McGuire, and what a wonderful tribute to her.
I totally appreciate it. Deb was my best friend, and I think, you know, she and we found great peace. And I think this was something that I needed to do for her to pay tribute.
I'm here with John Wadahara with Tales of Aloha. John, Aloha, what is Tales of Aloha?
Aloha, we're all volunteer animal-assisted therapy group. We visit the hospitals. A lot of us go to nursing homes. We also visit the colleges, University of Hawaii, and a lot of the elementary schools also. And high schools.
Now, you're a volunteer, and I would think as a volunteer, when you go into the hospitals, it really lifts their spirits.
It does, and that's the reward we get. You know, being out in the community and just seeing how much eyes light up, the tears actually of joy that it brings to many of the elderly, as well as a lot of the students, especially at University of Hawaii.
Thank you so much for the great work that you're doing as a volunteer. It's just wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Hope that you've enjoyed our show this week. I'm going to leave you with a rich thought for the day. Courage means to do something different, to take a risk, and sometimes it's scary, but sometimes taking a risk could also mean that you can have big rewards. Think about it. Until we meet again, I'm Jessica Lonnie Rich. Take care and aloha.
Oh, my, it's a beautiful world. I like surfing Waikiki. I like to paddle out beyond the white breakers, where a man can still be free, or a woman if you are one. Yes, I do like surfing Waikiki. My, it's a beautiful world. My, it's a beautiful world. Oh, my, it's a beautiful world. My, it's a beautiful world.
The hardest thing in life is letting go of a loved one. Finding the right provider can be essential in your time of need. Celebrate your loved one with Ballard Family Mortuaries. We offer a full range of cremation and burial services on Oahu, Maui, Hilo, and Kona, with professional guidance and specialized attention you can trust at the most affordable cost. Call us today for a free consultation on funeral service options available to you and your family. Ballard Family Mortuary Group, serving Hawaii since 1997.